Hi, folks. This is Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com, and this is my friend Marty, who has been a Tai Chi student of mine for how long?
Approaching 3 years.
Approaching 3 years? God, it seems like it's been longer. And the reason I'm talking to Marty today is I thought I would give him a chance to share his history and strategy with dealing with chronic pain, and how just his strategy, I think, is a really good one, and I think Tai Chi fits into that, and we're going to talk a little bit about how that fits into the whole picture as well. So tell us a little bit about your history with chronic pain, Marty. When did this all begin for you?
So when I was 28 years old, I injured my back while I was on a deer hunting trip. I killed an animal in about the middle part of the Sky Lakes Wilderness area.
Oh, what?
The animal.
The animal. Oh.
So I shot a deer in about the middle of the Sky Lakes Wilderness area.
Okay.
And so I had about a 7-mile hike to get back to the truck.
Wow.
On a trail that was about like that. And I was 28 years old. And so with a friend we were doing this. And I didn't know, but I found out later that I sustained a compression fracture in the middle of my spine from doing that.
From the carry?
Yeah, so I went to a doctor, like we all do when this happens, and he kind of looked at my back and assessed me and gave me opiate pain medications and muscle relaxers, and he says, "Now,
Right.
You're 28, by the time you get to be about 38 or 40, this is going to come back, and this is going to be a problem. You'll probably fight it for the rest of your life." And so I took the medicine, it all went away like it normally does. And I'd actually forgotten about all this, and I started noticing when I was 38 that I had a hard time mowing the lawn and doing yard work and things like that. And so I remembered the injury. So I went to a chiropractor, and I was probably about a year down the road of going through a chiropractor, going to him once a month just to get an
Right.
adjustment to begin to put my vertebrae back into an alignment and all that. And then I was in a motor vehicle accident. And so in the motor vehicle accident, I'd actually gotten to the point where I was going to stop having chiropractic adjustments done. I just didn't need it anymore. I'd kind of gotten on top of it.
Right.
But the MVA changed everything. What happened, I was up on Siskiyou Boulevard at an intersection waiting for a pedestrian to cross in front of me. And this young student was going about 40 miles an hour.
Boom.
And she just crashed right into the back. Didn't even see me. I never heard the sound of the accident. All I knew was, in the blink of an eye, I was 65 feet forward from where I was, and I was
Wow.
pointed a different way, and everything was weird.
Right.
So since then, I've been fighting chronic back pain in a really, really big way ever since.
And when did the accident happen again?
This was back in 2009.
Okay.
And so right after the accident, my doctor, like a lot of doctors, it wasn't him specifically, I don't blame him at all on any of this, he gave me a prescription for Percocet. And so I took that over the next 90 days, and what happens with a lot of people is the amount of medicine that was necessary to deal with the symptoms got to be more and more. Finally I got a call from my doctor, and he says, "Whoa, come, you need to come in and we need to talk. You can't take this drug like that. It's too strong for that. We had talked about 3 months ago about you getting a medical marijuana card. Did you not do that?" And I explained at the time, well, I did that, but I can't take it because I'm going to be changing jobs and I have a drug test I need to take. So they'll be okay with opiates, but not with cannabinoids. So he goes, "Well, when does that conclude? I mean, when can you get back to that?" I said, "Well, in about a month." He says, "Okay, well, I'll give you 30 more days of Percocet, but that's it."
Wow, 30 days.
So I did that, and I proceeded, and I took the cannabis. Well, I had other events continue after that, so I got a stripped-down prescription of Vicodin. So Percocet, Vicodin,
Right.
and you can get morphine and
Right.
when it goes up. And so I took Vicodin, about 30 capsules, 5 milligram capsules every 30 days for 7 years straight.
Wow.
Along with 4 ibuprofens 3 times a day, 24/7 for 7 years straight.
Wow.
And so what happened to me, the pain went away. It was very good at doing all of that, but I would go through this gyrating cycle of the pain would go away, and then the next day it would actually go up higher than it would have been had I not been taking the drugs, I think. And so I became more reliant on it just to control my symptoms.
Right.
And so finally my body gave up on this. It started to get sick. I had really weird symptoms. They thought maybe I had cancer. I was evaluated for everything you can imagine. All kinds of different weird illnesses, lymph node stuff, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have the symptoms of somebody going through withdrawal for opiates. But in the end, all we could really do is stop taking the opiates and see how my body responds to that. And it went away.
Ah.
So I made the decision at that point in time that I'm not going to rely on the drug to do this. I'm going to have a higher tolerance of pain because the side effects of the drug itself are worse than the pain I'm trying to deal with.
Wasn't there a key doctor's appointment where he said something like, this isn't going to go away, or that you're going to have to deal with?
Yeah, he did. This was early, about the time he prescribed the Percocet. He says now, it's normal for people with chronic back pain. It's something, about half the adults out in the U.S. population deal with something like this, or close to that. It ain't going to go away, but you can control how it goes for you by, doing certain things. The medications are one thing that you can do.
Right.
I found at that point in time where I had to get away from the opiate drugs that really the answer for me, and I suspect maybe for other people in a similar situation, is you can't really rely on the opiate drug. It's not designed to do that. It's very, very good for acute things, but it's very, very poor for chronic things.
Right.
And so I made the decision that I needed to increase my tolerance, and I needed to have some other different tools to work with in my picture to control the pain. So drugs can be one avenue towards doing this. I chose cannabis and ibuprofen or naproxen, either way, as a way to address the symptoms and make life more bearable, basically give my back a rest each night. I have a professional job where I sit in front of a computer for the whole time I work, and so sitting is a real issue. Right.
So when you say cannabis, what could you be more specific now?
So I started with a card, and I just sort of dipped my toe in the water, so to speak. I didn't really understand what was available, and there's nothing out there that teaches you how to use the drug or how to use it properly. So I began a great period of experimenting with this stuff. I grow my own, so I have a strong understanding of cannabis and how it's grown, how it's used, how it's dried, all that stuff. I basically took control myself.
Right.
And that experiment led me through a corridor of different things that I've discovered about it. Number one, there's different strains, and so if I stay with one strain over time, my body would get used to that. The effect is less. If I alternate to other strains, it prolongs things.
And are you generally looking at CBD heavy strains?
That came later. And so I'm swapping between strains, just trying different ones. At the same time, the legal environment's changing around all this in the state of Oregon, and so it's getting easier with dispensaries and so forth to go somewhere and get different strains. And through that development, it coincided with the timing of what I was doing, where I started getting into other types of strains that had different cannabinoids in them. If you go to a dispensary, most of them will set you up with the Leafly website, and there they have a study of all the different types of cannabis. They have a little matrix on this. THC is the one we know about the most. Now we know a lot about CBDs because that's really popular in the media these days. But I believe there's 17 or 19 others that have certain things that they do. And so we're really in the infancy of understanding the potential of this drug. What I like about it is, one, it gave me just enough of a improvement, if I will, that I was able to increase my pain tolerance and not rely on opiates. So that was huge, and that was highly empowering for me. I had control over this. It was really, really good. In the last year and a half or so, where that's led me is I now try to integrate a small percentage, maybe up to 25% of what I consume, through strains that are either high in CBDs or they're all CBDs, and I mix it with other types of cannabis that has more of a THC effect.
And you've done this trial and error, trying different percentages, seeing and using your body pain feedback level immediately about
not just the pain feedback level. I mean, that is a part of it, but also, what can I do with my body? Can
function.
I hike? Can I ride a bike? Can I
What will it allow you to do?
Now, going back to about the time that I had the Percocet prescription, I guess maybe about 8 or 9 months after that, I started doing Tai Chi with Gene.
Right.
So here I'm embarking on an approach that includes medications, but other types of things too. I really believe today where I'm at that I'm able to achieve the level of improvement by taking a multifaceted approach towards this.
Right. So you now have cannabis in blends and strains that you alternate and rotate and listen to the functionality of your body as well as the pain level. You have Tai Chi to help you work with posture and breathing and movement, but you also are an avid cyclist and skier.
Part of it is to stay busy.
Right,
I mean,
stay
you want to be
active
out doing
physically.
things. And so I remember when I first hooked up with Gene Burnett, one of the suggestions that he made early, because I went to him.
Me.
I can say you. Okay. One of the suggestions Gene made early on was, okay, so I work with a lot of injured people, and Tai Chi's good for that. But one of the things I've observed is you're probably going to do better with it if you maybe get away from the physical activity you're doing outside of Tai Chi, maybe for a period of 7, 8, 9, 10 months. Let the Tai Chi set in place. Let your posture improve. Let your body get better. Then begin to add those things back. And for me, that was a perfect prescription, because where I was at the time is I was going through ups and downs.
You get injured and get sent back and injured and sent back. Right.
Yeah, so I'd go out and
pushing it a little bit.
Yard work on a Sunday, which I could normally do before, and boom, I'd be down on my back for the next 3 days.
Right.
And I couldn't work, the pain was intense, all of that.
Right.
So
we kind of concentrated in on posture and breathing and relaxation for a while, and then you up the intensity of the exercise, and you get less of a setback thing.
And then combined with being physically active. So right now I do cycling. That's my favorite sport. I've been doing that since I was in my late teens, and that's definitely better for me. For somebody with my body size and weight and all that, it's hard on my ankles to do running and other types of things. So I have 3 sports right now that I do: cycling during the summer months, Nordic skiing during the winter months, and hiking in between seasons.
So you've got physical activity, you've got a postured breathing focus on the body listening discipline in Tai Chi, you've got cannabis, you've got ibuprofen, you've also got occasional use of opiates for when things are really terrible, or do you
Okay, so where opiates reside for me now, I went through changes with doctors and everything over the last several years, and one of the things that happened is the industry changed how it works with doctors and opiates now too. So now I'm signed up on a thing where I'm on a list in the state. So if I'm up in Portland and I get hurt and I go to an urgent care thing, my name pops up on a list. Hey, he's had problems with opiates before. We should probably think about whether you really want to give him that. So what it's been for me, I've had 2 occasions since I got away from opiates where I've had to use them. I tore my rotator cuff tendons about, maybe 2.5 years ago, and I went and saw an urgent care person in Hawaii, and they prescribed opiates, Vicodin, basically. So I took that, and it kind of went away. And then I had another event that happened this last summer in July where I crashed on my bike and re-injured my rotator cuffs, and so once again I had to rely on it. The first time I did that in Hawaii, I was on vacation. I was just trying to get away from the pain. So that's what I ended up doing. This summer when I got hurt, I took the opiates, but what the problem with it was it camouflaged the pain so well I couldn't really tell how bad the shoulder was.
Right.
And because my name was on a list, I got cut off after the first refill. So I was no longer able to use it, but I was still in a lot of acute pain. And so I think if I were to do it again, what happened this last summer, I might try to do it without Percocet, just because the problem remains. When that stuff wears away, the pain is more intense and it's more debilitating
than it was in the first place.
Than it was.
Yeah, a lot of people have that experience. A lot of people have that experience, and governments are getting tighter, and people are, realizing this. But meanwhile, the people have gotten hooked on them. And so they're trying to wean or cut people off, but they were prescribed these things. Yeah. So, now they're kind of going, well, let's not be too free with these prescriptions, and let's kind of
it's a hard calculation to make. It's personal, it's individual. And so for me, I've had too many occasions happen where I get lured down the road of having to rely on them to control symptoms, rely on opiates. And so the act of increasing my pain threshold was integral to this. I had to get my head around the idea of it. I had to
Right,
want
you
to
have
do
a
it.
certain zone that you can tolerate, and your goal is not to eliminate that pain, it's to stay in that zone,
Yeah.
to not numb out
To
on
not
the
exceed
bottom.
my threshold.
Right, but also to not numb out so that
That's right.
you're not aware of it, because you need that pain to listen to tell you like how things are going and what you're doing.
So let's talk daily walk of life stuff.
All right.
I'll usually have a little bit of cannabis each evening. On the weekends when I'm active and I'm physically doing things, I'll often do the cannabis during.
Right.
So if I go hiking, I
Right.
might smoke a joint 2 hours into the hike. It's going to have CBD as a mix in it because that decreases the inflammation.
Right.
The THC works on the pain. The CBD works on the inflammation causing the pain. And so I can hike up to 15 miles
Right on.
in a given day.
Cool.
I mean, because I've conditioned
Right.
my body to be able to do that.
Right.
On the cycling front, before I went down this summer and got injured in my crash, I was
Right.
running about 125 to 130 miles a week.
Wow.
I was signed up for 2 century rides. When I got injured, I was on a 50-mile ride, and the next day I was going to do 75. And so that's how far I was
Yeah.
able to, that's how much progress I was able
Right.
to make
Right.
with Tai Chi and cannabis and controlling my symptoms.
Right. Wow, that's
And I can't wait to get back out on the skiing trails.
Right,
It's starting
right.
to snow in the mountains, and
Right.
I'm excited about that.
and yet at the same time, typically at any given moment during a day, I could ask you, Marty, are you in pain right now? And you'd say yes.
Yeah,
So
I'm in
right
pain.
now you're in pain.
I'm in pain right now, but the Tai Chi I just did, so
Right.
sometimes there's a little bit of pain after I
Right.
do that, but it's within my tolerance.
Right.
And I'm usually better the rest of the day for
Right.
having done
Right.
that.
Right. Now you also have a hot tub, so you rely on some hydrotherapy there too. How often do you do the hot tub?
It can be as often as daily,
Right.
sometimes a couple times a day.
So
It just
you've got
depends.
like so exercise and movement. You've got and both in the vigorous sense, and then you've got postural study and movement. Then you've got ibuprofen, cannabis, occasional. You use opiates every once in a while if you get injured, if you get seriously hurt or
2
something.
events over the last 4 years.
2 events, right?
That were
so,
acute.
So that's not really in your. That's in your deep emergency toolbox, not in your present.
I have to really get to a bad place before
Right.
I'll go that way.
Right, and then
Now,
you've got the tub.
There's more tools.
All
So
right.
another tool that I have, you can get these at Shopping Cart. There's other places.
Right.
There's a little blue hook. It's called a Theracane. It's about like that.
Oh
in
yeah,
size.
yeah. There's the Body Back Buddy too that my friend Paul Nash makes.
I also got a book that was recommended by my physical therapist. I've gone through a lot of physical therapy with everything I've done. That's been in the picture too, by an author by the name of Claire Davies. And I think the name of it is Trigger Point Therapy.
Ah, okay.
So basically, it's how to use the blue Theracane hook, mainly on my back.
To hit certain trigger points to,
hit
release
certain
tension.
trigger points.
Right.
And so trigger point therapy is right in there with the Tai Chi and the cannabis. I have one of those foam rollers, a 6-inch roller, and I'll roll on my back. I'll use the yoga ball. I have those in
right
my
on.
office.
Okay. I was going to ask, when you're in the office, I
It's
know
as
that
needed.
you don't want to sit all day long static. Do you sometimes get up and do a little Tai Chi as well?
I get up at least once an hour
Okay.
as a minimum. Number
Okay.
2, my office is arranged with my desk towards the wall and everything else in an open area to where I can do Tai Chi in my office.
Okay.
Some people do the thing where they raise the desk. I considered that. I chose not to do that because it's probably better for me to get up anyway.
Right.
And the Tai Chi is something I should be doing that's
Right.
going to have benefits.
So you've integrated both the Tai Chi and the yoga ball and the foam roller and, kind of Theracane trigger point stuff somewhat into your work life. You can take short breaks and you can administer some of that stuff or stretch out or
Yep.
move a little bit, make some adjustments, and then go back.
That's right.
And it doesn't really hurt your productivity when you factor in injuries, because if you didn't do that, then you'd be out flat and you couldn't work at all.
When I was working about the time I had the accident and I was on Percocet, it was 3 days at work, 3 days off. That cycle went on for a long time.
Right. You don't have to take days off for pain anymore?
No, not very often. It's really rare.
That's
And usually when it happens, it's an optional thing. Okay, I could keep working, but like yesterday I went home around 1.
Okay.
I had worked on yard works and leaves and stuff all weekend, and I was pretty sore, and so it felt good to go home and lay down. So really what I went home and I did some Tai Chi, jumped in the hot tub for about 10-15 minutes, had a little bit of cannabis, then I laid down.
Okay.
And I was good for the evening, and I feel good today. I'm a little bit stiff, but I'm okay. one more thing, in addition to the Theracane thing, there's a variety of salves and rubs that are topical, and I've used those to replace opiates on acute stuff like my shoulder.
Arnica and that kind of stuff?
Not arnica. There's some that have. I use arnica. I use toperson, which has a lot of arnica in it. So I've been using that all along over this whole time frame. But what I'm talking about specifically is some of the cannabis rubs that you can get.
CBD oils and lotions
CBD and
salves.
THC that soak in.
Right.
And so that's a lot less impactful on my body than taking an opiate drug, which is really good at making it go away, but then it comes back stronger than before.
Right.
So I've had that negative reinforcement thing.
Right.
I've experienced that so many times. I really stop and think whether I would want to take an opiate.
Right.
I mean, like I say, I have to really be hurt before I'd even
It seems like what you're saying, and over the years that we've talked about this, and what's really impressed upon me is that first of all, accept that you accept that you're in pain and that's not going to go away. Then you say, okay, I don't want to be numb and I don't want to be in agony. I want to find a zone that I can control. And then the next point is, don't rely on one medication, one pill, one solution to the thing. You have a toolbox kind of strategies, because not everything works all the time, and you don't want to get reliant on one thing.
Well, people are different too, so you want to experiment. I would say to another person that's considering my story and how that might help them is, you need to listen to your own body. That's the thing I've probably did through all of this. It's probably had the highest values, listening to what's there.
Right.
Because there's an answer there. I mean, I needed to move. I needed to be mobile. I needed to do different things. I need a little bit of help chemically to help that happen.
And those aren't just ideas you heard about. You listen to your body and you feel like, this is what I need to do. And I don't need to rely on just these pills or just this one thing.
Your body will talk to you.
Right.
You may not understand what it's saying to you, but there's a signal, there's a message. It's talking to you.
Right.
And if you listen thoughtfully, this is what I saw as the answer was not what I thought it would be.
So accept that you're going to be in a certain amount of pain. Find the zone that you can tolerate, and then listen to your body and keep your ears open also in the media and what's going on, different strategies. Experiment. Find different things, not just one thing, that keep you in the zone that you can tolerate so that you can move forward. And I think another thing a lot of people talk about that I've heard who have been successful managing chronic pain is don't build your life around the pain. Don't focus inwards on the pain. You have to do that sometimes, obviously, to listen and to experiment, but to continue to focus your life on the things that you do and you want to enjoy with your life, like be looking forward and moving through the things that you want to do. Focus on the life that you want to live.
The way I would describe it is, what you have is not an overall dominant condition. Right. It's a side effect.
Right.
And so if you can view it as a side effect, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep charging, these things are going to come up from time to time. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I've got I have a very well-tried box of tools that contain things I can throw at this to make it better.
Right.
And so that's one of the things that can happen to chronic pain people is you become hopeless. Some people get depressed. I felt myself getting that way at times. Right. And then, all it really takes is something that's kind of over the top to throw all that equation out of balance.
Right.
And for me, that's stuff at work sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes stuff at work can be overwhelming.
Right.
And so your response when you're weighed down by pain is you just at some point give it all up.
Right.
I can't keep on going. I'm going to give it all up and just crash and burn, and that's fine. I don't care anymore.
Right.
So I was able to depart that kind of thinking.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to still stay on course, but I'm going to need to do a few things because...
Well, that's very cool, because I mean, a lot of people who are not in pain don't realize how draining it is.
Yeah.
How depressing it is, how lowering of your energy it is, how debilitating. It really does. And they seem kind of whiny, and I think to myself, I mean, a person in chronic pain can seem kind of whiny to someone who's not in pain. And I go, listen, man, just get in pain for a while and see how whiny you become. It is possible to me. It gets you down. And so having a strategy to deal with not only the physical symptoms and the physical roller coaster ride, but also the emotional and the psychological
The
one.
analogy is this: if you're driving your bike down the road, sort of at the end of the day, and it's starting to get dark, and there's a car approaching you with a bright light on, your sensory ability for everything else is really compromised, but you can see that light really well.
Right.
That's what pain does to you. pain is so overwhelming, you may not see other things that are happening because that sensory input into your brain is so much more intense than anything else you're going through right now.
So you have to recognize that and roll with it and deal with it and
regulate it a little bit.
Right. Boy,
so
that's
the
amazing.
calmness of Tai Chi, the breathing, the body movements, the posture, the ability to do it anywhere I may be, out on the hiking trail, out on a bike ride, here right now. I can do Tai Chi anywhere. I can't take cannabis anywhere. So it's really a better tool than cannabis in some respects.
Some situations. Right. Very cool. Well, thanks so much for talking and sharing with us, Marty. I have another student, Eddie, who also is a chronic pain sufferer, who also does Tai Chi with me. I want to do a little talk with him too, just to not just to not just to pitch Tai Chi for chronic pain. Certainly it would help, but I think I love this idea. Everybody I know who's managing this well has multiple strategies, has accepted their situation. They're not trying to be pain-free. They're trying to manage it. And I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but it is a way that I've seen with my own eyes be successful for at least a few of my friends and students. None of them rely on one thing.
The thing is, you're not going to run into a person out there that's going to spell all this out for you. You're not going to run into a doctor or another medical practitioner. You might run into another patient that's experimented with a few things, and that's what I'm offering. But all of this way of thinking is in its infancy right now. And it hasn't really come to fruition towards mainstream. It's starting to go that way.
And there's an element of the listen and experiment and take your own health into your own hands that's going to always be true. We can't, we're in this body. The doctors are outside the body. The specialists and the advisors are outside. You're in it. And there always has to be that listening element and experiment element, because you might be the one exception to whatever the rule is. So whatever they're trying to tell you, you might be the person that doesn't work for.
The cannabis can be difficult to really get a good read on it.
That really requires experimentation.
You really need to experiment and do a lot of reading and research on your own. One of the things I did outside of the research and the reading on my own is 2 years ago I took a trip down to Nevada, and I got to go to another state's cannabis dispensary. And they do it very differently down in Nevada. This was before they legalized it for recreational use. But you go into a room, and they only let so many people in at a time, and we were doing that here in Oregon at the beginning when we first did this. But then you go up to the counter, and you get you and one person. You're not competing with other patients and providers, and this person is offering strains that have surveys done on them by patients.
They do surveys, and people report their response.
Exactly. That's what they base.
So you get more information.
Their guidance as far as this strain will help you with this condition. It's based on people actually experiencing it.
So,
it's not just some
so you have
it works that way.
So, but the bottom line is get information, listen, don't give up, keep experimenting, keep looking for things, and plan on a certain amount of pain, developing a level you can tolerate, and plan on having multiple strategies. Hot tubs are wonderful for some people as well. I have alcohol sometimes, weed sometimes in various forms, physical therapy, movement exercises, functional exercises, posture exercises. All these things can contribute. So I think our final message would be just don't rely on one thing, don't give up, and keep experimenting, keep listening.
One thing I forgot to mention, Gene, is nutrition. And mainly specifically avoiding processed sugars and alcohols. That's one of the things I've done also. I can't really drink alcohol without being a painful thing for me the next day. I can maybe have a beer or two, but then I'm going to feel it a little bit. So by listening to your body and your situation, that doesn't work for you at all. And it was easy for me to get away from it. Some people fight with alcohol, so I can appreciate that. But for me, the signal of pain and feeling was so strong that I equate the two together, and I just stay away from it. I have to say processed sugar is a much harder dimension to crack because it's everywhere.
Well, also people have different relationships with sugar. Some people are really inflamed by it, and others can handle it, and it's not a big deal. So I just, again, experiment, listen to your body, and live and learn. Thanks, Marty. I really appreciate you sharing this with us today.
My pleasure.
All right, you take it easy.